This meeting is of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in agenda item remarks of the public. Would you all stand and join me, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 is approval of the agenda. Agenda item. We have roll call. Sorry. Roll call.
Mrs. Dottore.
Here.
Mr. Gilroy.
Here.
Mr. Krokowski.
Here.
Dr. Phelps.
Here.
Mr. Corson.
Here.
Now we have the approval of the agenda and agenda items.
Yes, Mr. President, you'll note that we have distributed an addendum that we asked to be incorporated in the motion for approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. I have a question on the agenda. I'm not seeing anything on the community survey on releasing that and discussing that. Is that under a committee or is that?
The survey has been completed, and as a matter of fact, I think it was just, Jackie and I got a chance to see it just last week, but we had people that were out of town, didn't get back till Sunday, whatever, so it's going to, hopefully it's being distributed or has been distributed. We're going to try to get it on the meeting as soon as possible in May, which should be before May.
I haven't seen that. And why the delay? We didn't get our board agendas until Friday afternoon. I mean, why a delay on that? I mean, you can certainly read it over over the weekend. But kind of mystified why we have to wait till May to release a public survey.
We're just trying to give people time to read it because there's a lot of things to have read, and it deserves time to be read.
Thank you, sir.
Also, I'd like to make a suggestion. Mrs. Dottore is not going to be here on the 19th because of scheduling at school. Can we move, is it possible to move the regular board meeting from the 19th to the 12th? Would that be okay for everybody? We're discussing staying doable.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't on my schedule.
Okay, all set, that works, so we make that suggestion. That would just be number 13, May 19th,
We will repost the meeting and indicate that it's being rescheduled to the 12th and notify everyone on the sunshine.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? If not, can we call a roll for the agenda and agenda items?
Mrs. Dottore.
Yes.
Mr. Krokowski.
Yes.
Mr. Gilroy.
Yes.
Dr. Phelps.
Yes.
Mr. Corson.
Yes.
Okay, section 4, minutes. Meeting minutes of February 24th, regular 31st, regular 15th, or is that April 15th special? Got them all in?
Yes.
Is there a motion to accept the minutes, please? So moved. Is there a second, please?
Second.
And does this catch us up on the minutes?
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you.
Current as of today's meeting.
Any other questions? Would you be kind enough to call the roll?
Mr. Krokowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Dottore.
Yes.
Mr. Gilroy.
Yes.
Dr. Phelps.
Yes.
Mr. Corson.
Section number 5, we have some recognitions we're very proud of. We have Eagle Scouts, Kyle James, Kaneki, and we've got John Paul, is that right? We've got Eagle Scout plaques we have. What do we have for our Eagle Scout recognition?
I've got it.
Great.
Kyle, you can come up first, and John. just want to take a moment to read these. The resolution of recognition, whereas on April 6, 2014, postponed. These two fine young men will be honored by an Eagle. They were honored by their Eagle Scout Court of Honor for achieving the highest honor a Boy Scout can receive, the rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas the individual who receives the Eagle Scout Award has exhibited commendable skill and dedication in service to his troop, his community, and his family. This prestigious award, bestowed only on those who have shown exceptional aptitude and initiative in scouting activities, is a testament to your perseverance and diligence in working to achieve your goals. And whereas scouting combines the wisdom and leadership of adulthood with the enthusiasm and optimism of youth, so that your young people will be better prepared to assume meaningful and rewarding roles in society. As an Eagle Scout, you have learned the true meaning of brotherhood while upholding the highest ideals of scouting, and have demonstrated a sincere commitment to bettering yourself and the world around you. Therefore, now be it resolved that the West Geauga Board of Education, at their regular April 28th meeting, recognizes these two young men for earning the Eagle Scout Award, and we urge all to join in acknowledging this great achievement.
Congratulations. We also have Green Ribbon School Recognition Award.
Actually, I'd just like to say this week we were presented with a letter from Secretary Arnie Duncan, Secretary of Education for the U.S. Department of Education. And the award actually is given out to schools that are environmentally friendly, they reduce costs and waste in the district, and provide an environmental education to the students. And I'd like to congratulate not just the students and teachers, but the families as well, because this is, again, another outstanding award that the high school has received. And I'd like to compliment, again, the entire community. And also, specifically, Mr. Mike Sustin, our environmental science teacher at the high school. Mr. Sustin spearheaded the process, and again, it was a lengthy process involving us. And in fact, we are invited back to Washington, D.C. to receive the award from Secretary Duncan this July, and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. This brings us to item 6, remarks to the public. Please note all persons wishing to address the board have a 5-minute limitation. Please state your name, address, and topic. We have a lot of things to do tonight, so I think we're going to stay pretty close to 30 minutes. Does anybody like to say something?
Good evening, just short remarks. My name is Kathy Leavenworth, 15306 Hemlock Point Road. Just like to address the spending and financial situation here at West Geauga. The recent discussion and decision concerning open enrollment has resulted in approximately $250,000 in decreased revenue per year. During the first 3 months of this year, our legal fees are more than what was allocated for total yearly expenditure in the recent past. Some of you may know me, some may not. I was elected to West Geauga School Board for 30 years, 22 years as president. I did not lose an election, but was asked to serve on the State Board of Education for 4 years ago, and had to vacate my position at West Geauga in order to assume that responsibility. During my tenure on this board, we never had a lawyer attend every meeting of the school board. It was and is an unnecessary expense. In addition, it appears that there are items appearing on tonight's agenda that will increase your expenditures by hundreds of thousands of dollars. This means that the district is going to have to go on the ballot far sooner than was originally forecasted in October 2013. I do not think this is the best interest of the community or those who finance our schools through their property taxes. Thank you for your interest.
Anybody else? Okay, we will now go to, no more remarks of the public, we're going to go to section 6B, is that right, Dan? Correct. Are we going to executive session? Is that what we're on?
Yes.
Off the executive session, discussing employment and compensation of personnel, ORC 121.22G1. We have to read it away.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yes. Second. Mrs. Dottore?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mr. Kilroy?
Yes.
Mr. Kokowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phillips?
Yes. And we're going on. Yes, will there be action taken?
Well, the remainder of the agenda and possibly another agenda.
Okay.
Page 2. Now, just to declare we're back in session.
We're back in session. We're still in session.
Back from executive session, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda. Item C, amendment of agenda, and this would be item 6D, a resolution to accept the resignation, separation, reassignment, separation, and resignation agreement between the Board of Education and Superintendent Jeffrey G. Palmer as distributed and for this board. Item E, a resolution to employ Michael Netter as an administrative assistant to the superintendent as an interim superintendent in accordance with the contract of employment as distributed and before the board. And item F, a resolution that the Board of Education enter into an agreement with the Madison Local School District to provide the treasurer service effective April 28, 2014. The agreement will be for a treasurer to be paid at an hourly rate of $55 for up to 30 hours per week, with the pre-approval of the board president for blocks of up to 5 hours after an initial 10 hours per week.
Is there a second? Please.
Second.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dottore?
Yes.
Mr. Kilroy? Yes. Mr. Kokowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phillips?
Yes. Okay, so that then Dan takes us to where?
The first of the new agenda items, resolution to accept the assignment, separation, and resignation agreement between this Board of Education and Superintendent Jeffrey Palmer as distributed before.
We can't hear it.
I'll read, let me read it.
This is the people's place, not the board.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Item D is a resolution to accept the reassignment, separation, and resignation agreement between this Board of Education and Superintendent Jeffrey G. Palmer as distributed and before this board. Is there, we need a second for this?
Need a motion and a second.
Is there a motion, please, as read?
I motion.
Is there a second?
May I be recognized?
Yes.
This separation agreement, as most separation agreements that are contracted upon when a board is not happy with the superintendent, is basically a fig leaf to save all parties. I could not be told by our legal counsel how much this would cost us. This will cost us Mr. Palmer's salary for a year. He will have an ambiguous title which says that he will be a special assistant for transition and will provide advice and consultation on matters relating to superintendent transition as requested by, and only by, the interim or regular superintendent. Basically, this board, because they could not get along with a highly qualified superintendent, is going to spend an undisclosed amount of money to buy out the contract of Mr. Palmer. If the board had chosen to simply get along with Mr. Palmer, to behave like adults to Mr. Palmer, the board could have saved upwards of $100,000 of the public's money. The board instead has decided that because they do not feel that they can behave as mature adults, they will in fact spend $100,000 plus of the public's money
Crazy.
in order to make their lives a little bit more tenable, not having to deal with a superintendent who they do not like. However, I believe Mr. Palmer is extremely qualified and we've been very fortunate to have him.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dottore?
Yes.
Mr. Kilroy?
Yes.
Mr. Kokowski?
No.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes.
How about open mic now?
Okay, I will do
We
that.
vote on board members.
One last thing that I'd like to mention, please. I'm going to reiterate that this is a mutually agreed decision. It is due to Mr. Palmer and the district. However, there will be those that will never agree, and they do not want to agree. There's a small group of individuals that have, for example, disliked me since the facts group.
Oh,
And I'm defeated the income tax.
it's not about you.
This anger goes back 8 years and is not good for the district. This is petty calling.
Then resign.
Can you recognize Mr. Kilroy?
Hold on, please. This is supposed to be, this is supposed to be about children and making the best district possible. Exactly. Unfortunately, I've become a lightning rod for those few individuals who will never be happy. This is not good for the district. This creates unnecessary bad press that the district does not need or deserve. I've always put my money where my mouth is, and I've tried to lead by example. This district does come first and always has. So effective September 1st, I'm stepping aside as president. I think the board should present a new statement. This is not about me. I don't want it to be.
You just made it.
We have the next item.
Mr. Kilroy, I would just reiterate there was supposed to be a joint statement. You read it at this point? Is that where you're headed?
Yep.
Thank you. Would you like to read it, or I think it would be better if I do have some comments at the end.
The West Geauga Local School District Board of Education and Superintendent Jeffrey Palmer has entered into a mutual agreement for transition purposes of district leadership in anticipation of Mr. Palmer's retirement in July 2015. Mr. Palmer will continue to serve as superintendent of schools through June 13th of this year, at which time he will assume duties as a special assistant for transition. In that role, Mr. Palmer will be providing assistance on special projects and other transition-related duties at the direction of the interim superintendent and later the newly hired superintendent of schools. The board will be initiating discussions concerning the search process for a new superintendent. Criteria and procedures for the selection of candidates, including a process for public input, will be developed by the board in upcoming meetings and will be shared with the community at the earliest opportunity. The board wishes to express its appreciation to Mr. Palmer for his dedicated service as superintendent and his assistance in facilitating an orderly transition in district management. Mr. Palmer likewise expresses his appreciation to staff, parents, and community members who have given freely of their time and talents to make many great strides in the program of education that we are able to offer students.
If I could, Mr. Kilroy, sure. I would simply like to add to that, an expression of my appreciation to the Board of Education that entrusted this important role to me 2 years ago. Your support and confidence will never be forgotten. I'd finally like to express my most heartfelt gratitude to the students, staff, community, and friends who have welcomed me and my family since our arrival. We are all proud to be Wolverines.
Yes. Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dottore?
Yes.
Mr. Kilroy? Yes. Dr. Phelps?
Yes. Mr. Nutter, would you like to stand up? Welcome, Mr. Nutter. Section F is a resolution that the Board of Education enter into an agreement with the Madison Local School District to provide treasurer services effective April 28th. The agreement will be for a treasurer to be paid at an hourly rate of $55 for up to 30 hours per week, with pre-approval of the board president for blocks of up to 5 hours after an initial 10 hours per week. Is there a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Will you call Ms. Bennett, Dan, a second? Is there a motion? Will you call roll, please, Dan?
Mrs. Dottore?
Yes.
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mr. Kilroy?
Yes.
Mr. Kokowski?
Yes.
Dr. Phelps?
Yes. I would like to take this time to thank Mr. Wilson for his services. He's done a great job. We appreciate very much what you've done for us. Thank you very much, Dan. That takes us to section 7, new business, a presentation from the turf committee.
Mr. Kilroy, last month you stated that there was no such thing happening. I just want to know what happened within a month. That was, you assured us that firing, or however you want to word it, Mr. Palmer was not anything on the table. And suddenly, now it's here. So how do we get the trust of the board when they decide to do whatever they want, when they want to do it? Just as you took a vote with 90% of the population left last time on open enrollment. It's a little shady. Sorry. Can we answer that?
No, we're done with that section.
Yeah. I think, you know what, you owe that to the community.
Mr. Patterson.
Welcome. They say timing is everything. So we do appreciate the opportunity to be able to present to the board the update on where we are, just a little bit of history about what we've done and where we'd like to go over the next period of time. We were able to meet with the operations committee today, talk about some of the issues, answer some of the questions, talk about the budget. So some of this we've talked about a little bit with the one committee, and so I'm going to try and keep it brief and then respond to questions as best I can. So I do want to introduce, we do have some of the members here. I do want to introduce Nick Lorenzo, Tim Ritt is here, Joe Mazurko back in the back, Bob Battisti in the back as well. We've also Chris Kinsella and Lan and Sue Patterson have also been very instrumental in helping us along, as well as many others. So I do, in August of 2013, this committee was formed and basically asked for approval from the school board to raise about $750,000 to install a turf field at Howell Stadium, replace Howell Field with a new state-of-the-art stadium. We have been overwhelmed by the support. We very much appreciated the support of the public, very much in favor of going forward with this project. Unfortunately, we did not meet our objective. And so out of we have not yet, we have not yet reached our objective. We're very happy to report that we have raised over $400,000 in actual dollars, in-kind contributions, as well as in-kind contributions and pledges. We think that that's really positive, and as you see the positive things going on, sometimes it's hard to see through the light. As you see all the positive things and you see the presentations going on, we find that real positive. We had a blip, that I'm going to call it, where we were unable to raise funds for a period of a few months because we didn't know where we were at. And we did not know with some pending potential sponsors where we were going to be at, and we didn't know what we were raising funds for. As a result, that put us on a slight hold as far as moving forward, and that probably put us a little later in the timeline than we're looking for. We do feel in the next month that we will be able to be successful in raising about $550,000, and we're going to look forward and ask the board at some point when we get to a certain point, and the turf company, we need to let the turf company know if the school board would be willing to potentially put in the rest, and we want to prove a financial case on why that's positive, let alone the positives from a community standpoint. We do feel that even though we did not meet our objectives and that this was supposed to be 100% private fundraising, we do find that this project, regardless of how it's going to go, is going to be the perfect public-private partnership, where the private was able to come in and be able to do the base of the funding needs that might be needed for the school to go forward with a project that's going to be able to not only sustain itself, but actually be a money generator for many years going forward. Specifically, we presented to the board in the beginning of the year that this project can generate about, we think at a minimum of about $40,000 a year in cash flow. That would be done through marketing. We have temporarily put in a number of about $20,000 a year for marketing. The marketing program that we're offering to the school and we're suggesting to the school is actually raising Brush High School $40,000 net a year in these marketing opportunities. Their maintenance savings, we believe, as everybody knows, this is sort of been a joke, but as everybody knows, there's not a whole lot of maintenance that's going into the field. That hasn't been a priority for the public, and the field has sustained some damage-wise, which is why we're looking at doing this project. But there is still about $10,000 a year going into the field that would be saved, along with another additional $10,000 that historically have been put into keeping the upgrades of the field, so for a total of $20,000, we're only using the number 10 there. And then also field renter. Kenson has been successful in renting out the field to community groups and other sports programs at a level of in excess of $10,000 a year. So we do believe that this new turf field offers the opportunity for about $40,000 positive cash flow from where we are at today. So we're not looking at the money that we may fall short. We're not looking at it and asking the school, hey, pay this money. It's not a parking lot that you put in dollars and you never see the dollars. We're saying if we move forward on this project, the school can begin to generate some dollars out of what's going on. And so we don't believe that it would be consistent with our original objectives to ask for anything else. So that's sort of the base of where we're at. We understand that the timeline from what we're looking at is basically the drop dead time is basically June 15th. We've committed and we feel comfortable due to a variety of current fundraising initiatives going on that we are going to be able to raise the necessary funds to get us up to that point at that time. We also have, and I can provide to you, the actual quote that we're able to work with Mr. Wilson. We certainly appreciate Mr. Wilson, Mr. Palmer, and Mr. Russo's help in this situation. They've been extremely helpful from the beginning as far as steering us through understanding the confusion that is school funding and how we can be a part of that. So we do have some forms here that give the quote of the field sort of in final at about $725,000. So at this point, I guess we would open it up to questions from the board.
You don't, for the meeting today, you have some other issues. Do you have?
I do.
Please. So I think a little working backwards, the praying for good weather all the time. The latest that the board can vote to approve whatever it is that we end up voting to approve would be approximately what date? End of May? Is that May?
There's one issue that we do require permitting from the county for the water situation, and that we've already been in touch with them and said that if we do get approval, to be aware that we're going to be moving in a quick timeline. The steadfast date for starting construction would be, actually, we said July 1st because that gives the company that we would be utilizing is called Field Turf, and they have said normally it's an 8 to 9 week process to put the field in. Sometimes it can be faster. They say 9 weeks. That's with weather, the worst case scenario. They can sometimes do it faster. At July 1st, I know we are on the road our first game this year, WestG, so there would be a potential that we, if they started July 1st, that we should be able to get everything done and ready and going for that first game. However, the permitting, and we also require, we need it's called base mapping and a survey that we need to provide to the company so they can actually do the design build portion of it, and that's something we're responsible for, which we have somebody lined up to do that, but the cost is around $5,000, and if we weren't going to get the approval, we didn't want to have to do that, but there is a sensitive time, and I think that May 12th date probably would be the date we would need. Yes.
Does that, the brick entranceway, is that a separate thing from this, or is that included?
That's included in that. That's going to be done via in-kind work by a variety of groups that's going to be installed.
Okay. Yeah, and then the gate.
Okay, so the gate that was discussed before, thank you for bringing that up. So the gate as well, we have gotten a quote. We're basically separating that out, and we're also sort of separating funding on the gate. That's looking at a retail cost of about $25,000 to $30,000. We think that's part and parcel to make sure that this is what we want it to be when we put it in. We don't want to put lipstick on the face, so to speak. We want to make sure that the whole thing is looking how we want it to look. So we do believe that's going to be part of it, but we do feel that that's going to end up being mostly donated. We do have a lot of groups that are very interested in doing work and donating some supplies and materials that otherwise don't necessarily have a place in this. So.
I had two other. If I did the math real quick, you guys are hoping to shoot by next month to raise up to $550. So potentially you'd be coming to the board for $175,000.
Correct. That's
okay, so then the second thing is if I recall back, and I understand the reason that you did, that you guys chose Field Turf, but now looking at the gap difference, is there not a different company that could still meet our needs and do what we can on a lower budget?
That's a good point. We have met with all the turf companies. Everyone has different products and different positives. And as well, Jeff and Mr. Bishop sat in on some meetings with the 3 turf companies that we narrowed it down to. Field Turf creates a field. It's the #1 product that's out there. The cost difference is, I'm going to call it, let's say in this project, just because of the scale of the project, you're probably looking maybe at a $650,000 to $675,000 project versus $725,000. So we don't want to suggest that there's not a difference. Field turf is time and time again proved to be a better product, a longer lasting product. They use double the amount of sand. When we were talking, someone is going to donate the sand, one of our donors is giving a very generous donation. And they're like, this isn't consistent with the sand. It's double the amount of sand. There's also a study that Penn State put out that said that field turf field, and they didn't talk about other fields, is safer than natural grass. They didn't compare it to other turf companies. But we think it's going to last 2 years longer. We think it's a better field. 50% of fields going in today are using field turf. So it is an additional cost of about 50. And I think that's a fair question. I think we have to address it closer. I mean,
Can I say one thing on that? One of the biggest costs of field turf is the infill, which we are getting donated. So if we were to go to, they do offer a lesser product. That lesser product just means it's less of the material that you're putting in there. Well, if that's part of our donation to get more, why wouldn't we just go up with that? So that's probably the primary reason why we're choosing to do that. The difference being from a cost basis was, I think, in the neighborhood of about $17,000 to $20,000. I'm trying to remember the numbers off the top of my head of the infill. Okay, so it's pretty substantial. Secondly, from the time frame that we're looking at right now in order to get this field in this way, I think I should back this up and say we had met with these turf companies and all of us as a group, and we also have a consultant who is a WestG grad who is, I would say he's probably an expert in the turf right now. He was actually brought to a failed turf where he's an expert in missing the trial. Okay, and we've used his resource to kind of identify the companies that we went with. There were a few things we were also looking for. The longevity, but also who the company is, that there's a lot of turf companies out there that are just installers that have been going bankrupt. Okay, and one of the primary things we wanted was a warranty of 8 years with field turf. We get that. We get it not only from the base, the way we also get it for the turf, and if there's an issue. They're also owned by Tarkett, which is a gajillion-dollar company, so we don't have to worry about the finances of them. The other piece is they actually are part of a consortium for co-op bidding, okay? And we can avoid having to go through any of the bidding process, and we already felt field turf was the best one, but we can literally go through that co-op purchasing, which I believe we are already a member of the, I'm going to say it's AEP, or I have to give you the exact name of it, and they can handle everything, and we can get the project moving in a timely manner. If not, if we have to bid everything out and go to that point, we're probably not capable of putting it in this year. So.
field turf, this is the numbers that we have been given by the turf companies were about 8 to 10, with most people getting to 10, you know, maybe you kind of push it a little bit. Field turf is saying 10 to 12 years. And with people pushing close to 15, I wouldn't recommend in any which way thinking we go to 15, but I'm very comfortable thinking that we're going to get 12 years out of this, at least.
Ravenna just went 12 years. They just replaced theirs.
Field turf, field turf.
So basically then, whatever savings you have on maintenance, I mean, but there are going to be some costs for maintenance on this.
Very minimal. There's the debate on the care of the field as far as disinfecting the field. Field turf, and about half the companies are saying do not disinfect the field. The sunlight is the best disinfectant. You want to take care of it naturally. Don't put the chemicals on the field if you don't have to. There's going to be a replacement cost that we're assuming in about 10 years is what they're quoting, what the replacement cost is going to be in 10 years or 12 years. They're saying it's going to be about $250,000. So as we look at several opportunities for that. One, we look at that stream of income that we can take advantage of about $40,000. We don't want to earmark that to too many things like the putting in the field. But we look at that. We also look at these sponsorships that we're selling for the field, our 7-year sponsorships. those will renew, and we'll be looking. So not only are we working on additional ones through the years, but those will renew in year 8 of the field, and we have the opportunity to go out and re-up that. So.
Did you talk to Chagrin Falls? Did you talk to Chagrin Falls?
Did you talk to Chagrin? The question being asked, did you talk to Chagrin Falls?
I'm not about to go outside of protocol there. Yeah. You know, we looked at Chagrin Falls Field. People have talked to Chagrin Falls Field. They have a nice one that was put in by, I don't know, we have that information. Someone, yeah. We talked to Chagrin, to address that point, we talked to Chagrin Falls, we talked to Orange, we talked to Brush, we talked to Kenston. Kenston really gave us the ideas of how we can move forward on this and really start us out the right way. In total, I think we talked to them, Tim's talked about 8 different school districts, getting a feel for what they've done.
And you've got $170,000 cash in hand right now.
Yeah, out of the $400,000 that we have committed in kind and pledged, we have $170,000 in cash right now. I'm not going to, that'll be above that at that point at the end, and should be above that significantly when we come back.
Okay, so appreciate your time. If anybody has any other questions, because if we do, can we get an email, please, so we can email you, make sure everybody has a chance to do this. We can talk about it more on the 12th. People can think about it. And I believe right now, with the 19th being their 12th meeting, we would have to put something on as a special meeting a little later, depending on how you're fundraising after the doing this. We'll be hitting the ground running again.
Yeah, and I can offer up weekly updates to the board if they would like that. You know, every Friday I can just say, this is moving forward, we're getting good response, or we're not, just so you guys can be prepared if we're going to be asking, you know, since we're in a 4-week period of time.
I was just going to say one thing. I think what you're doing is a great idea, but obviously you heard people today talk about how can the board spend all this money. And I was on vacation and I had someone call me and they said, who would donate $40,000? Who would donate money for smart pads for the grade school kids? Why didn't they give it to the high school kids? And so this community is very divided on what they prioritize. So my question to the community is, as people think about it, they're going to criticize the board for spending this money, like they criticize the person who has a stick up his butt because he donated $40,000, $50,000 to smart pads. There's a community uproar, as you heard all the clapping tonight, of what people try to do good sometimes turns around against the people. And you need to know that in this community, there's going to be people who are saying, oh, they voted for this, why didn't they vote for that? I mean, there's a difference in priorities sometimes. And I would hope that if the community really wants to do this, the community would pull together. My name's on here donating money. I would like to do that. But I also have a hard time when someone calls me up and says, why did someone donate money to the grade school kids? Donating is out of your heart. If you want to criticize someone for donating money, then you donate more money and give it to the high school kids because you want the computers to go to the high school kids. So if the community really wants this, I would hope the school board doesn't give any money to this. So then people won't come to us and say, how could you spend the money incorrectly? Because I know Ben, was very concerned about that. Even though, we just got out of an executive session where nobody was supposed to say what Ben said. He did, okay? So if the community wants to pull together, let's pull together. Let's stop attacking people. Let's work for a cause, and let's try to make something happen.
If I might also just throw out, because these guys have worked very, very hard on this effort. The board goal created a year or two ago was to try to get back into the top 5% in 5 years. And being a top 5% school district is not just the academics, which is obviously very, very important, but it's our sports programs and our extracurricular programs. We all do this. Personally, I feel that having being able to be competitive with some of the other schools in our district that we compete with
Yeah, we appreciate the time, Dr. Phelps. I very much appreciate your comments, and we do feel that part of a student's life is not only academic but also athletic, and we clearly recognize that the voters in the West Geauga School District have said that we want the dollars to concentrate on the academic portion, which has meant that the private community is going to need to come in to be able to bolster what the school board can do if they're listening to the wishes of the public. And that's why that public-private partnership and finding the right balance that says the private is there, but we want to make sure we have a partnership that works for everybody. So we find that important. So I appreciate your comments and everybody's comments and the opportunity to present.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for doing this.
Brings us to section 8, informative reports, superintendent's report.
Just a few items to report on tonight. I want to again express my appreciation and share my recognition for the high school for the Green Ribbon Award. That work and those efforts are greatly appreciated and should be recognized. In addition to that, I guess I sort of joked, and those of you who follow me on Twitter may have seen my comment about a rainbow starter kit with getting a blue ribbon in the fall and a green ribbon. We also have received, if you follow U.S. News and World Report, we've been recognized as a silver medal winner in that. So we're working towards a rainbow with a lot of great work. There's some, and the News Herald article that came out on that online mentioned the fact that, well, the U.S. News and World Report is not a target that we shoot for as a district. It's one that recognizes and indicates the successes that we're having. As a district, we set the goal of reach each one at the start of this year. That's what we should be about, reaching each student who is sitting in our classroom and doing the best job. And our work in doing that is being recognized and is being rewarded with our students improving. We've jumped dramatically from 117th in the state to somewhere to the 57th rating. These are based on last year's scores. Again, high school staff, students, if you are here, parents of high school kids, and our administrative staff, congratulations on doing another job well done. The first week of May is National Teacher Appreciation Week, and as we did last year, we will be doing this year, and we'll be taking a grill show on the road to each of the buildings in the first week of May. We also expand that, and it's not just about the teachers. Our teachers are hugely important in the job they do, but all of our staff members, our bus drivers, custodians, secretaries, every one of the people employed here are very important. So we make it Staff Appreciation Week, and we will be going to each of the 4 buildings through, as well as central office, where we incorporate our maintenance staff into that as well, and transportation. I want to invite board members, if you are available. I will get more details out at the times of each of those buildings because they are a little bit different. But we will be going to each one of those, and I will be proudly grilling once again for each of you. So if you don't start my grilling, pack your lunch on your assigned day. The other thing I want to do is just give a brief update. Today is the 28th of April. Our open enrollment deadline is closely approaching on April 30th. As of today, we have 368 open enrollment applications, of which 162 of those are new open enrollment. As you know, with the numbers and capacities that have been set, in any year, we never accept every single student. We're not able to. We turned away close to 100 last year. We'll turn away a significant number again this year. The other significant enrollment piece of information I would share with you is, as of today, it appears that we have 100 resident students in kindergarten, which is our capacity at that grade level, which would mean that no open enrollment students would be accepted at that grade level. So that's what I have. If there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
Thank you. Next report is people personnel.
Yeah, as those are included, if there are any questions for any one of those, they will be glad to address those additional questions about their reports. They were all included in the packets.
There were some questions last time on curriculum, as far as we have 14 AP classes now. For years we had 10, so first year was 14, and we didn't get any more for next year, but are we working on, is it going to be working on trying to figure out where we can find some more? Any comments on the 14?
We talked last time about AP numbers, and so today I wanted just to take a few minutes of your time and talk with you about a number of things. So I'm handing you information on one side, would be a 4-year capacity of enrollment for AP course offerings at WestGBrd, starting in the school year 2011-12, working its way up to forecasting for next year, forecasting meeting course requests that are currently in-house with our guidance staff for next year courses. On the other side, I offer an idea based in timing on how you would go about to look at AP course offerings, opportunities, and I would also tell you this continuum of services opportunity that I'll speak to as well. But Jay and I worked together, so if I'm leaving things out, Jay, speak up, please. So one of the things that you want to do when you're looking at your AP enrollment and programming, you want to look at with an ultimate goal, as was discussed here at our last meeting, to increase student enrollment in AP offerings. I would offer to you ultimately what the goal really should be of the district is to create course offerings that can sustain themselves inherently over time in number and in interest. And so to do that, you have to feed and you have to forward plan in a way where a lot of pieces of a puzzle have to come together. So one of the things that we talked about maybe 2 months ago, when you talk about adding an AP course, there is a whole lot more that goes into it. It is very complex puzzle pieces that have to happen. And so I just want to talk to you about some of those complexities so you understand the work ahead of us. One of the things that you want to look to is offering students a continuum of services, whether it be in AP programming or whether it be across a continuum of all course offerings. So one of the things that you want to do is you want to make sure that you can fill capacity in the content and course areas that you target. Some of that depends on staff capacity. Some of that depends on student interest. Some of that depends on enrollment across years. So one of the things that you want to do, and it will take you some time to look through this, you'll have questions as we move forward, but the enrollment across time is very interesting. You see fluctuations, you see total fluctuations, you can look at ways that we have hit numbers on U.S. News and World Report, and look at it in terms of enrollment numbers. It's not necessarily a one-to-one because of the complexities of those numbers. So there's a lot of things to talk about. We could possibly cover it tonight. I fear the crowd if we would try to cover them tonight. But I would offer this to you. The plan moving forward takes a very measured approach in a month-by-month way of how you might go about having a community conversation around AP course offerings. Every stakeholder is very important. You can't ignore families and students. You can't ignore staff and the high school. You can't ignore the board. You can't ignore central office staffing. They all have to have, and they all have to matter when you're choosing. Because if they don't, then what happens is you can't sustain the program over time. So one of the things that we have to do is we have to garner student interest. We have to garner staff opportunity and background, and we have to look at those two things over time. And we also have to write a course, which is time intensive in a way that unless you've done one, you can't really understand. And a staff member takes that on, and it has to get accepted by the AP board. So all of those pieces of the puzzle fit into a time logical map that I want you to take a look, peruse, get questions on the table, and then we can talk to them a little bit more particularly. But I think that this will map out for you some of the complexities that are hard to digest in a singleton conversation around AP, and then we can move forward once I can answer your questions and we can speak to our staff.
We have the courses set for next year, so we have a little time on here, but at the same time, thank you very much for what you've done. We appreciate it.
Sure.
I'll make a few statements in that committee. We met last week, and we can set up meetings if anyone's interested and be at the next meeting. I met basically for informational background on the U.S. News and World Report question and others. And one very interesting thing is the reason we did well, and this is emphasized by Brenda and Nancy, the reason we did well in U.S. News and World Reports is not because of AP, because none of that has kicked in yet. What has happened is this district has done a good job in the last couple of years of teaching the fundamentals. Our reading scores and our mathematics scores went up. And that's what did it. I'm really hopeful for next year where we stand because, of course, we'll have the additional AP offerings. But those actually didn't play a role in this. And it just shows, as Leo DeRocher always said, it's the fundamentals. And it's the fundamentals in our districts. And we've gotten that right. And if anybody would like to give me a couple of dates when we can, set up a meeting if anyone's interested in coming. It's actually really fascinating to talk to these guys. It's worth coming to.
I think we can do that when we get to our standing committee discussions and schedule. That's okay. We have principal reports.
Good evening again. I just want to say thank you to the community again. 57, we moved up from 117, as Mr. Palmer stated a minute ago, to 57 in the state of Ohio. And again, U.S. News and World Report, the scores are based on reading math scores as well as AP proficiency. So, again, something that we look to improve and look, the conversations that we have, not just, between Nancy and I, but also between staff members and the entire district to figure out what's best. To switch gears a bit, we recently surveyed the students at WestGBrd High School and determined some of the needs in order to prepare them, what's needed in order to prepare them for college in terms of getting them ready, making decisions about going to college. And our WestGBrd Education Foundation, which we have several members here tonight, have stepped up and have kind of taken the lead in organizing a college and career night at WestGBrd High School, in which we are inviting not just WestGBrd High School students, but students throughout the John County and nearby area. And this night, so far we have approximately 23 colleges and universities attending, and we hope to get some more. But this night will be May 28th, and in addition to the colleges that will be in there, we also have presentations on soft skills. We have different career options being presented. And this is something that we'd like to continue to grow as a program. And I'd like to thank the WestGBrd Education Foundation for assisting us in that development of our children. We appreciate it. And,
school, obviously we have our OAA testing coming up in the next 2 weeks. As I told you at a previous board meeting, we are doing our 8th grade testing as was previously scheduled before all the snow days. Actually the next 2 days, starting on Wednesday and Thursday, Friday of this week. And we'll be following the next week with our 6th and 7th graders. Do all of our class trips coming up. If you notice in my report, I have our 6th grade camp was rescheduled for the 19th through the 21st of May. We are going next week to Washington and Williamsburg with our 8th graders, the 6th through the 9th. And then we'll also be going to Chicago with our 7th graders on the 22nd and 23rd. So if you're interested in seeing what it's like to do middle school kids on overnight trips, I'll have a full report next week. Enjoy that. One of the big things that's going on, we're finishing the SLO process in middle school in terms of turning in the assessments that we will be doing in the upcoming years as we critique how the students have mastered the curriculum in each of our areas. Thanks to Nancy Moncasa, wherever you are here, for her help. She's been a real part of coming up with those assessments and helping us with that. Also, there are spring showers that brought the spring leaks back. And Mr. Russo has assured me those are going to go away as we get a lot of our roofing. So thank you, Mr. Russo. Also, this room is going to get a paint job over the summer. If you can envision about 600 kids, adolescent kids, eat lunch here every day, that makes a colossal mess. It's not as dirty as it could possibly be, but we are going to cover it with a new coat of paint, which should obviously brighten up the place. So thank you for all your support.
I think I got the loud. Can you guys hear me?
No.
No. Just to let you know that we're busy working on it. Right over there. Just let you know that we're all preparing and getting ready for the OAA test. You know, we're testing the week of the 5th through the 9th. So everybody's not ready for that. We're in the process this week going through our 4th and 5th grade. We're doing the linkage for our students for the value-added component, and which is out for Ohio. So the teachers are busy working with the specialists, the gifted teachers, so they get all the percentage right for their linkage. Some other fun activities that we had at school is we had our band recorder and chorus concert, and that was standing room only. So it was nice turnout for the community to come and see. And along with that, we had our kindergarten grandparent special person day. So it was nice. We had the voices of Lindsay come out and sing for our grandparents. They toured the building. Got to see what the class was, and we had some of the grandparents go on the playground equipment. So it was a good gathering and enjoyed by all. Any questions? Thank you.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Just wanted to recognize a teacher on our staff, April West. She is an interventionist in the primary level, and she was just recently recognized as an outstanding special education educator in our area, Lake Geauga County, which is the Region 4. So she'll be celebrated at a ceremony on Thursday at 4:30 at the Auburn Tech Center. And then also, we recently received word that we received a donation from Progressive for 50 laptops and 35 desktops with monitors, and that was through the efforts of Mr. Robo, who has students at Westwood and also at the middle school currently. So we appreciate that, and I guess that's just a quarterly funding, so hopefully we'll receive some more. And let's see, we also recently received, through action of the board, 125 additional keyboards for our iPads, and Lindsay received the same. So that brings our count up to, I think it's 155. I think that's it, because we recently received 30. So what that does is allow us to use our iPads more effectively for testing.
And recently with the park field testing, we did utilize them, and the kids are getting acclimated to the toolbars that are within the test, and it was a good trial. So that's pretty much it for this, and we wish everyone a nice spring if it ever arrives.
Good evening, everyone. The roofing project, as you know, has started and is well in place. We're making good progress at Lindsay Elementary, making good progress at the high school. We're actually putting on the cap sheet at the high school. The high school will be done probably in the next week or two. Well, probably not because it's supposed to rain all week, but we're making great progress there. Middle school will be done this summer. I don't anticipate any problems as far as timing is concerned with the roof projects. We've done a lot of tuck pointing on the west wall, the wall facing 306 when you drive by the high school. That is significant in that we get a lot of wind shear because most of our weather comes out of the west. We get a lot of rain inside that brick, etc. So the tuck pointing is something that's been in dire need in this district for some time. So that's a good thing. We've made some significant upgrades to our sewage plant at this main campus. We're hoping to have a startup of that project next week. Again, weather permitting. We have put in a little over $150,000 into that sewage plant over the past year in order to get it EPA compliant. There have been several issues. We still have a couple issues that we have to address there. Fortunately, we do have some permanent improvement monies, and that's where some of those monies are used for those projects. We have completed it at Westwood Elementary. We've completed installing 13 classrooms worth of ceilings and new lighting. We have 6 classrooms remaining. Those will be completed in June. We've installed new lighting retrofits in all 3 of our gymnasiums. The middle school was done last summer. We did both the auxiliary gym and the main gym at the high school between Christmas break and Easter break. Those will pay benefits in us to reduce electric costs. We also got rebates on both of those projects from First Energy. So they've been good projects. As also they increased the lighting levels in those gymnasiums. Rooftop units, another big expenditure by the district. Again, these are items that are budgeted with our permanent improvement monies. Fortunately, we're very blessed in this district to have permanent improvement monies. Aside from the roofing projects, we have a 1 mil levy that allows us to do permanent improvement projects on a yearly basis. The rooftop units in this district, on all of the buildings, we total 64 rooftop units. There are 19 of those units that are 1996 vintage. So you know what's ahead for those roofing units. And we've replaced this past year 4 of them to the tune of about $100,000. Again, those are items that are budgeted in our permanent improvement fund. Painting schedule, Mr. Kish had mentioned what we're going to be doing here this summer at the middle school. The 2 elementary buildings will be doing 5 classrooms at each of those buildings. And at the high school, we're going to be doing the atrium, the gymnasium atrium, and the main entryway. The generators, the backup generators that we're putting in at Westwood and Lindsay. Westwood is completed. Lindsay should be completed by the end of this week. And what those generators, those backup generators will allow us to do, although they do not generate the entire building because of the capacity, that's a very expensive proposition. These generators will allow us to continue to operate a building to use water and restrooms, which is an issue that we have whenever we have power outages in our buildings. Two other quick things I want to mention. We have negotiations with the classified staff beginning in May. Looking forward to getting that completed. And the other thing is, in our transportation department in we're on a fast track to do this. Our transportation supervisor, which is a shared service with the Metzenbaum facility, she's had some drastic medical issues for basically this past year. She is not going to be able to continue. She's going to retire in June. So we're basically without her services. I met with Dawn Rice, the superintendent at Metzenbaum, several times, and we had brought in another person, hopefully to be able to fill Tammy's spot, but she's not interested. It's just too big a job. So what we're looking to do is basically hire a transportation supervisor. I'd like the district to hire this transportation supervisor, and we need to bring somebody on that has experience. You know, we're getting into May already. We need to get routing done for next school year, get reports done, T2s, several reports that need done. So we're looking to bring somebody in with some experience to get that underway. So I just wanted the board to be aware of that, because that's something.
It was a shared service before. Will that mean each of us will have our own supervisors?
Yes. Although I don't know that, well, I'm not sure what they'll call their person that works there, but those two people will still have to integrally work together because, you know, you're not going to have a supervisor there for 12 hours a day, so they'll be sharing time more so than anything else. Yes. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. That should take us through section 8. Superintendent Standing Committee discussions. Then you touched on yours. Were there any other ones to talk about?
Other possibilities. So the first is, of course, that the committee meetings are quite interesting, and curriculum is so core to what the district does that if any of you have any thoughts about when you have good times to meet, we can try to coordinate it. The other thing is on AP, one thing that was brought up is that, as Nancy said, it's a challenge expanding AP because, of course, you have to have student interest. And so we could determine that we have some qualified teachers in certain areas, but if the kids don't want to take those courses, we're not going to have enough people in them, and we would then have some really big costs because we have some incredibly small class sizes. Great for the kids taking the AP classes. The other thing is we have to have teachers who are qualified, or we have to hire someone. Right now, it looks like it would be pretty difficult to expand some of the AP classes without hiring someone. So we may be looking at that as a part-time person, full-time person we'll see, because AP people have to be certified essentially to teach at the college level. So, you can't just simply assign a teacher to do that. The other thing is she is working on sort of having, you need a farm team for AP courses too. You need kids who in 7th and 8th grade are taking like 9th grade algebra, so they're ready for it, so they can go into it. And so that's part of the culture that we've got to do more to build here. So, a lot of it is just a cultural thing. And I think Nancy's expressed that part of it is communicating with parents, getting parents to be aware of this track that we do have expanded AP offerings, and that we're trying to get every kid to at least take one, because the key thing, and this was a really interesting thing that came out of the meeting, the key thing is unless you're obsessed with the rankings, the key thing is to get kids college ready. And that's one of the main things that AP courses do. Now, there are other ways to get kids college ready, but that's something we do right here. And those other things we can talk about at other meetings and at the curriculum meeting. But the key value added of AP is when a kid goes off to college, they've already experienced the rigor. They already know, as some freshmen find out after their first semester, that you have to put extra time in your classes, you have to put extra effort. You have to take notes, you have to do all those things that smart kids might never have had to do in high school. So it's really important, since something like 90-some% of our kids go on to college, it's really important to have courses that appeal something to every kid, because then each kid gets that college-ready experience. So that's something we'll be looking at. The other thing that was emphasized is we're really in a good position to do better since we do care about U.S. News and World Report's rankings, simply because people choosing homes care about it. We're in a good position for next year because that improvement in the ranking that was so dramatic was, again, based off of the fundamentals that are being taught in our high school, rather than based off of anything we did in AP classes, which means that when those AP results start kicking in, we could see a further uptick. And if you think about it, we're right now at the top 6.3% roughly of schools, high in terms of U.S. News and World Report's ranking. If we went up 1%, we'd be getting really close to our 5% goal. So it looks like we're in good shape. We're on track.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is yours only rank high school?
Yeah, it's a high school ranking.
I was just curious if the high school is at 6.3, what are our other buildings at? Or is that just the high school or district?
It's just a high school. And when I say we're at 6.3, some of the high schools don't have enough data and so on to rank them, and mostly it's because they're just, lower tier high schools and smaller, and so those aren't ranked. So our ranking of the ones that they ranked, that's the number. I don't recall the number exactly, but it was something like 732. And of that, maybe a couple hundred aren't being ranked because there's no data to support them. And the reason there's no data is, generally speaking, they're not the better high schools. So
Brings us to item 10, our treasurer's report.
No, you didn't start with us.
Well, no, I asked for it. Did anybody else have any?
I know that we are still waiting on, there's a big pile of policy that we're still waiting to meet with Tim, but I'm kind of playing back and forth.
Yeah, if anybody has a meeting they need to schedule, obviously schedule. Were there any other meetings that were done since our last one that need to report? I think there's, okay. If you need to schedule any other meetings, please open up. And item 10, which is our treasurer's report. Sorry, Dan.
Yes, sir. We've provided financial statements for the month of March. Pleased to report that the fiscal year is progressing very much on schedule with some positive variances in revenues. The biggest being we received our first half real estate tax settlement that included $347,804.26 of prior year delinquent collections. This money was not in the forecast of the appropriations, but will be new money to the district that we can apply to the bottom line and buying down the future levies. So overall, it's a good month and a good fiscal year. There was some minor distortion in monthly variances for the time of some employee benefit payments, but year-to-date totals are right where they should be.
Question. This might actually be more so for Jim and Dan. I can get to it. Any way you can give us while I'm trying to dig and find for it, a lunch program update? How we're doing on that? Are we running on track? As opposed?
Yes. No, I haven't seen, you don't have it in the current?
Yes.
It's there, I just can't find it.
Right page here. We do a comparison of this year, month-to-date, year-to-date, compared to last year. Give me one moment to find it here. Fiscal year-to-date this year, we're currently at an operating deficit of $16,916. This compares to last year at the end of March, an operating deficit of $34,334. So there's actually been an improvement compared to last year of over $17,000. A big part of this was increased revenues so far this year to date, and expenses are only about $10,000 up from that a year ago. So more revenue, slight increase in expenses, and we're at this point in the year $17,000 better than we were a year ago.
And what is it that you project the total loss to be for the whole year? I mean, for the fiscal year?
35.
Which would take us to section 11, treasurer's recommendations.
Yes, we presented the checklist for the month of March, some new student activity, statement of purpose and budgets, several supplemental appropriations, some then and now certificates that were close but not quite syncing up date-wise, and the presentation of the formal agreement with the Mentor Exempted Village School District for accounts payable services.
Is there a motion to accept the recommendations as submitted?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? And can you do a roll, please?
Mr. Thorson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dottore?
Yes.
Mr. Kilroy? Mr. Prokowski?
Yes.
Dr. Bell?
Yes.
Okay, which brings us to section 12, superintendent's recommendations. Jeff?
You have in front of you in your packet personnel items that include our classified staff transitions as well as some supplemental hirings. Please note that in addition to the 2 pages of personnel, as I said, the classified staff then follows those over 3 pages. We also have some addendum items from addendum 1, which are a couple of staff retirements to add to that list. You have 3 in personnel in item S1. Number 1, there are 2 additional from the addendum. So I would just like to take a moment to recognize the following staff members for their many years of service to the district. We have retiring our Director of People Personnel, Deborah Marino. Deborah has been a workhorse in that department. It's just been a stalwart. Phenomenal work ethic, commitment to the job. The big thing is no matter what, kids always come first with Deborah, and that she will be a hard person to replace. Thank you for all of your service, Deborah. We have a custodian here at the middle school who is a first shift person who is not here tonight, Dan Masick, retiring after 38 years of service to the district. We have a middle school teacher who is on the addendum, Barb Van Etten, retiring after 15 years of service to the district. We have also, got to do the math, 1 and 1 is 2, right? We have 2 high school teachers, Margie Susan, our family and consumer science person, retiring after 19 years, and Martha Klinger, a math teacher at the high school, retiring after 33 years of service. A lot of changes brought about with changes in STRS and some of those changes, not only in STRS, but I think with education in general. But those will be very big shoes to fill, some tremendous long-time contributions to our district. So thank each and every one of you for what you have done on a daily basis for a long time. There are, as I said, a couple of contract changes in there. There, in addition to the personnel items, I mentioned AB. We missed C evidently in our list. We've got a school-sponsored trip. We have some students from our high school who have qualified for the state science fair. They will be going. We've got a non-school sponsored trip from Mr. Sustin to Costa Rica. We have a donation to the district. And then also from the addendum, there is a proposal for a school calendar. The school calendar is very, very similar to what we operated on this past year. And as we talked about over some meetings, there's legislation requiring change. As long as we can reach agreement with our teachers union, prior to July 1, this calendar would be able to be accepted if the board so chooses tonight.
First, I think we can make a motion first to accept the superintendent's recommendations as submitted. Is there a motion, please? Is there a second, please? I'll second that one. Is there any discussion, Jackie?
Jeff, I know that you were doing this in collaborating with the consortium to try to make this. I have a couple questions though. You had stated that because we are going to hours next year, that based off of our school calendar, we would be over almost 20 days of what the state minimum is. Is that correct?
The change to hours is based on a 5-hour minimum school day for secondary, 5.5 hours, 5.5 secondary, 5 hours elementary. With our school day, a change to hours gives us a substantial number. What we're looking at is if we meet the July 1 contract agreement, our calendar does not have to take on the change to hours. So this is a day-based calendar based on the assumption that negotiations will be completed before July 1.
Can I ask you why we wouldn't want to go to hours? I mean, I'm just looking at what the Farmer's Almanac says. It says that we can project these bad winters for the next couple of years. And if we do that again, look what happened to us this year. If we're on hours and we have more than 20 days, we don't run into that situation again with blizzard bags and extra days, etc.
Over the last 14 years, we've had 3 years where we have had to make up days based on exceeding the 5 calamity days. The change to hours is one that poses some contractual concerns. It's something that could be done. I think we have the option. I think as we approached it and had some preliminary discussions, the belief was if we can get through this year, it buys us a chance to look at it. While there are calamity days listed on this calendar, I would tell you, I can honestly tell you, I don't know that those will exist in a calendar for next year. I believe the requirement for time will be met even if our calendar is day-based. So while calamity days are listed here, those may not be an appropriate part of this calendar. Does that make sense? We have approximately 15 to 20 additional days based on the amount of time, 15 days based on the amount of hours we're in. With the changes, there's a lot of unanswered questions coming out of Columbus as to, as we talked about last month, the interpretation early was not consistent with the way the law was written. That July 1 agreed to is something we can target. So we've been getting a lot of concerns from community members and staff members as well, asking about, we need to get a calendar done. So I would suggest that this calendar basically mirroring, not exactly, but basically mirroring this year allows us to get that in place so plans can be made. We've been able to share information, but it's...
A couple other questions that I see that are a little bit different that concern me. We have historically, since I can even go back, we've always either had a week for spring break, if we were lucky if it fell during the holiday, and then when it didn't, we would always get that 4-day weekend. If it did fall with it, we would always either get the Friday before or the Monday after. This calendar doesn't give us the day after the holiday, which then becomes a huge issue, if I've been told correctly, of travel, always the day after Easter for spring break. Historically, we've either gotten Friday off and then a week of spring break, or we got that week and the Monday after, and that's not included in this calendar.
Yeah, the Monday after Easter is not included, you are correct.
And then can you tell me, a lot of these, I guess I'm a little lost on. because, you know, some of them I can just vouch, but, you know, just common sense, but like September 25th, I never ever recall getting a day off in September. What was the reasoning for that, other than Labor Day?
It is something that we have certain religious groups in our community that have expressed some concern that their holidays have not been recognized in any way, shape, or form by the district over time.
So that's a holiday.
That could have some connection to a religious holiday.
And is there no consideration for adding back in the day after?
This is the recommendation that we came up with. The board certainly has at its discretion the ability to change these as you see fit.
Is there any further discussion on this? Can we